You bolt up in bed, gasping for breath, wheezing, scrambling for your inhaler, because you know that the chemical plants or the oil refinery right down the road has recently made a toxic air release. My name is Stacy Savage. I'm the founder and president of Zero Waste Strategies. You can call me the Texas Trash Talker. I wore my shit kickers today for you. And I'm very honored to be here today and invited by Ian. And there's Zero Waste Strategies we've been around for 6 years, but I've been in the space for 16 years. I started my career as a door-to-door community activist. I went door-to-door, talking to neighbors, getting signatures and donations, and getting people to write letters to their lawmakers on critical health and safety issues that affected their health and the health of their families. So in that time, in the 9 years that I spent with this environmental nonprofit, we passed 2 key pieces of legislation that held electronics manufacturers like Dell and Apple and HP accountable to their toxic e-waste. Old computers that were obsolete or didn't work anymore, to have a free take-back program for residents. And we did that in 2007. And we repeated the process in 2011, and we got TVs on the books as well. Take that back 2 years, because Texas only has legislative session every other year on odd-numbered years. For a state that has 27 million people, is not a good idea. So we passed the original television recycling bill in 2009. Then Governor Perry, who's now our energy secretary, yes, that guy, he vetoed our bill, even though it was supported by companies like Panasonic and Thompson. But this gave us even more resolve and drive to pass that legislation in 2011, and it gave us a chance to strengthen the legislation. It was stronger than the one that he had vetoed. So we were like, oh, silver lining, great. So these are some of the companies that we have worked with in the last 6 years that I've started my company. Nestle Purina, they were seeking a zero waste master plan for their pet care facility in St. Louis. And so we helped them with that. Kohler was looking for ways to keep their crushed materials like ceramics and porcelain from toilets and sinks and bathtubs that just didn't meet the industry spec for them, their company's spec. So they had kind of a boneyard in north of San Antonio. And so we went out there and took a look around, and the company, the CEO said, no more landfill. We're going to use this for beneficial reuse. So we found a buyer, and we brokered those materials between them. And they're processing 500 tons a day, keeping that out of their landfill there on site. And we currently contract with the city of Austin. Austin has a zero waste master plan, and our job is to get between the businesses that need to comply and the code department that is going to lay down the law. So we're kind of the buffer zone. So we do the industry outreach and education to these companies that have to comply with these city laws. And so, you know, my first, 10 years or so was it was in the activist realm. And, a lot of that was due to where I grew up. Sorry. My dad worked at the Chevron plant for 45 years. He still works there. My mom worked at the Texaco plant for 35 years, right down the street. And so whether knowingly or unknowingly, my parents were complicit in polluting my community. But you know who else was complicit? It was the government, for allowing the tax loopholes for these companies to pollute. And of course the companies are complicit. They're doing the polluting. And they're taking advantage of those tax loopholes. And this is the oil and gas mecca of Texas. This is the port of Houston, right? And I affectionately call it the asshole of Texas. You know, that's brown, hazy skies and rotten egg smells are the norm almost every single day. The toxic air releases from companies like Dow, these other chemical companies, refineries. And so these mostly are affected are our brown and black communities, our poor communities, elderly, as well as, you know, more of the fence line communities that are butted up right against these industries. This is the Chevron plant that my dad works at currently. See those 300-foot stacks? He's an engineer and he walks those every single day. He looks at pressure and valves and yada, yada, yada. That's his job. He gets to hang out up there. And he gets to teach the new incoming class how to do it too, so that they can prolong, you know, the life of the company and the maintenance there on the site. Yeah. And so I became an activist in my early career. I was an activist for 10 years with a group called Texas Campaign for the Environment. And I went door to door, like I said. I went door to door. I talked to thousands of people across the state. And I got them to take action in their own local communities. Let's talk to your city council member, your county commissioner. Let's talk to your state and federal reps and tell them, you know, what we want to do. And my mantra was fight the man, right? And there was, you know, I organized probably 24 flash mobs. Y'all remember flash mobs, right? Flash mobs at Walmarts all across the country to happen within a simultaneous week. And this was during Christmas. And we would sing Christmas carols, but we would change the lyrics. And it was talking about take back. So we'd have these, you know, long robes, and we look like very, you know, Dickens characters out of the books, and we've got our scrolls, and we're singing, you know, Silent Night, but it's really like take back your crap. So this was happening, you know, within a week. So that was really my mentality, is like, we're going to publicly shame them into doing the right thing, because they're not going to do it unless legislation is passed. And they're not going to do it voluntarily. So we were like, yeah, we're going to shame them in public. We're going to affect their pocketbook, their bottom line, whatever we can do to really just get them where it hurts. And so that was really my mentality for a really long time. And, you know, I was, at that point, there was no more room for me at that organization. I couldn't move up. I couldn't advance my skills, because the executive director wasn't going anywhere. She's already been there for 25 years. So I took a step back and I was like, well, Stacy, what can you do? I was at a stoplight in my truck, and it just hit me. Okay, you know all the haulers for trash, landfill, and recycling. You know the city council members. You know the aides. You know all the heavy hitters in the environmental community across the state. Why aren't you the resource? Why aren't you the hub, right? And I was just like, oh, God, I need to start a business. Oh, shit, I can't believe I just said that to myself, because I was in the activist mode, right? And I was like, if I start a business, then I have to help from the inside out, not harm. So there was a huge revelation for me. It was the total other side of the coin. And so I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I have to work collaboratively with the businesses that hire me, because now they're my client. The residents of Texas and this nonprofit that I worked for, you know, I'm taking a step back, and I'm moving to where I can make a bigger impact and helping the companies green up from the inside out. And that's what we did with Nestle. They had asked us to come and do a zero waste assessment at their 3 million square foot campus. And it's just me and my husband. We had this tiny little business in Austin, Texas. You know? And so our business model is, we're just going to pull in people, contractors that can help us service these contracts. And we pulled in from our zero waste network. We were able to get people who are elders in the space that have been doing this work for 30, 40 years. Guys, these are the folks that set the global standards for what zero waste actually is. What is the definition of zero waste? They came up with it, 90% waste reduction from landfills and incinerators by 2040 or sooner. Great. these are the people that I brought on my team. They said yes, and I was like, hell yeah, let's go for it. And so that was my mentality then, and this is my mentality now. It's critical that people understand that these corporations are made of people. They have homes and families and friends and community that they cherish. And, you know, for me, it wasn't let's take down the man anymore. It was, oh crap, it's Becky in computing. It's Jose in the legal department. It's Jim in finance, right? Rebecca or, you know, whoever in the janitorial department. Like, these are real people. And they're trying their best at, you know, the employee level. It's really the corporate CEOs, it's the upper C-suite level executives that need to really show the leadership. And that's what we found with Nestle. Nestle's CEO said, this facility will be zero waste by the end of 2018. And the sustainability director called me freaking out because he knows about energy and water and maintenance, but nothing about zero waste, right? Didn't even know where to start. So I was like, cool, let's do this. And, you know, if a CEO sends down a mandate but doesn't provide any funding, there's no enforcement mechanism, ain't going anywhere. But the unique thing is that they were squeezed from the bottom up as well. The employees are like, where's our composting? We have a kitchen. You know, we've got a cafeteria. We don't want to do the wrong thing with this material. They were really, really driving it from the bottom up, but it was also the top down. And the resistance came from middle management because they didn't want to have to change anything that they were doing. They didn't want to upset the status quo. And they didn't want to go out on a limb to create new programs. So it was really a tug of war to get these guys to act. So the three key benefits to helping businesses green up, I'm going to go from 3 to 1, is the competitive green marketing. What is it? Competitive green marketing is really displaying your efforts publicly to show businesses or show business shareholders and employees as well as consumers that you mean business. And why is that important? Well, you know, you're going to set yourself apart from your industry competitors. And an example would be for the Nestle Purina example is, you know, really putting out there. They did newsletters. They did trainings. They made the green, you know, waste diversion part of their protocols and their onboarding just as important as their health and safety standards. So they prioritized it. Statistics, 81% of consumers surveyed said that they would pay more toward a company that has sustainable operations. So businesses are looking into exactly what you're doing, and they're looking into your consumer sustainability or your corporate sustainability reports. They're looking at what you're doing online. Is it truthful? Are you greenwashing? The customer is very savvy these days, and they are tracking what you're doing, especially if they're a loyal customer. So it's really important to keep that level of commitment to these green standards, especially if you've already set them. It's important not to come down, advance forward. If you haven't set those green standards yet, you know, set the green standards, implement them, and then scream it from the rooftops, because that's how you separate yourself you edge out your competition. So tools, this would be press conferences, and like I said, internal employee newsletters, posting signage, really setting that corporate culture, and then also, you know, getting your media out there, your social media, engaging your employees in promoting for you. You know, businesses want employees that are engaged. Businesses want employees that are proud to work there. And I can tell you that the people that I talked to that were employees at Nestle Purina were very proud to work there, and they would, you know, say it with pride. So that's really what you want. So the next one is business integrity is a huge issue right now. You know, especially like I had mentioned, greenwashing. There's many companies out there that will say they're doing one thing and then completely do another. And employees just do not want to work or be associated with a company like that. Customers are going to reject you in your industry if you don't have business integrity. And so something like that is very crucial. The business integrity, one thing I think would be with the Kohler story. They're just doing this internally. They're diverting their materials, the ceramics and the porcelains. I mean, it's not a lot, but it's what they're doing with it. And we've helped create the green marketing strategy. It's telling the story of your efforts and how does that resonate with the people who buy your products. So having that business integrity is really key, and then putting it out there, using your green marketing strategies. And then, of course, cost savings is always going to be a huge driver. A lot of the times, businesses won't go with the recycling program. They won't go with the composting program because they think that environment and economy can't go hand in hand, that they butt heads. They have to go hand in hand. If we don't have resources, if we're not saving the resources, you don't have a business, right? Also, with this business integrity, if you keep polluting your customers, you ain't gonna have anybody to buy your products. So, it goes hand in hand. And the cost savings are huge a lot of the times whenever you find that if you're reducing your landfill trash and you're increasing your waste diversion, at least in Texas, I know that it's about 10% cheaper to recycle than it is to landfill. I mean, that's big. And a lot of companies don't understand that. And they say, oh, it's just an added cost. No. If you can reduce your trash, right, you can take any cash savings from over here and use it to offset any new programs over here. Even if you break even, that's still a win because you get to market that. You get to show you have business integrity. People want to do business with companies that will protect future generations. So you're looking at companies like Dr. Bronner's and Seventh Generation, Honest Company, right? These companies, they are polarizing brands. They have said, this is my line in the sand, no more chemicals, everything's organic. They are standing up for what they believe in. They're standing up for the next generation. They're polarizing themselves as a brand. And that helps them specifically design their marketing to their ideal client. And that's why a lot of these companies have been very successful and have grown pretty well. And so the final question is, if we're not for zero waste, how much waste are we for? Okay.
Thank you so much, Stacy.